I think what you'll end up with is bleeding Kansas.
You know?
So if you have a fractured view of human rights, you end up in a certain amount of time with, this is 1844, was it?
Yeah.
Bleeding Kansas.
Yes.
This is when we're admitting a new state. There was two factions, parent factions, many different factions.
This before Texas. Yeah.
Right. And the idea was we cannot allow the concept of slavery to be allowed to take foot in Kansas.
Yeah, in the new territory. Yep.
Right. And many new territories.
That was what it was about. That's what the Lincoln-Douglas debates were about.
And this resulted in people going around killing each other.
Yep. And you saw Lincoln's arguments, if you recall, were purely legal.
Yeah.
He just said, for us, it comes down to, does a black man have the status of a hog? Even the slavers didn't believe that. And so there's no intermediate status in U.S. law. So they have full rights as citizens. But here's the thing. The war was occasioned by the desire to impose that on the South, even though probably the institution would have gone away in 10 years anyway. But either way, what I'm saying is that's what led to the violence. I said, and my assumption was, if you want peace, if you want a peaceful union, you're going to have to realize people in New York are not going to live the kind of lives that they live in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
They're just not.
But so I think it's important to say, everyone always says like, what was the cause of the Civil War? And,
oh yeah, there's not a cause. No.
Yeah, and I
agree with you.
The argument is the cause for the political conflict was rooted in economics, predominantly around slavery, which led to a lot of debate, a lot of angst.
Well, come on now. The Northern industrialists were very upset at the fact that the Southerners enacted tariffs and hurt their industries. But
I just there's a lot of different issues that economically emerge.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to try and pinpoint what was the inflection point that led to this. And I've read quite a bit about it. Many have argued. I think mostly from the Confederate perspective, it's that when Lincoln called for conscription to go and quell the rebellion or whatever, that was what made everyone want to fight. And I'm like, well, states were already seceding.
They were already seceding, yeah.
But secession is, I think, the natural conclusion of the ultimate Federalist argument of the states can do their own thing. Why would they not? Why would Texas not then say, we will not pay taxes to a federal system that allows the execution of human beings who are innocent? In which case, Texas then says, we will.
Radical federalism never contemplated that the federal government would take from one state and give to another.
It's not even so much that. I mean, if you look at what happened in 2020 with Texas v. Pennsylvania, the argument Texas had was Pennsylvania, as well as many other states, were holding their elections outside of the Constitution, and thus it was impacting their participation in the Union.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court told them to screw off.
Yes.
My fear is that if we try to take the approach of let Colorado just determine that a baby at 9 months, the baby is crowning. Doesn't matter. State says you can kill it on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm like,
if it's got a toe in the womb.
I mean, that's just absolutely insane.
It is insane.
And eventually what happens is states like Oklahoma say, we will not participate in federal requests, requirements, taxes, laws, or otherwise, because you are
which I must point out is exactly what California did with its transgender kidnapping law. It said that it would never return my son to Texas, even on court order. It would never obey a subpoena from a Texas court about my son. It would never allow any public servant to give me any information about my son, including the schools.
That's nuts.
That is already happening. But I'm just saying, if you want peace, and you want to maintain the Union, we're all going to have to accept that we won't have the same ways of life. Now you can say that's unlikely.
I agree, but there's limitations.
It has limitations.
I don't see how we can have a constitution which seeks to protect the rights, the God-given rights of its citizenry, and of all people. Even people who are not citizens have these rights because the Constitution does not grant them. This is what a lot of people don't understand too. They'll say, for illegal immigrants or whatever don't have these rights. Like, no, the rights came from God.
Right.
Yeah, they have the same rights.
Let me tie this back, if you don't mind, between slavery and the current discussion. I think that you are right that we might have like Like we had free states and slave states, where we'll have life states and death states.
We do already.
Right, we do already. But it's so interesting to me because reproductive technologies are actually feeding into this. So when Virginia passed its commercial surrogacy bill in 2019, for the very first time since slavery, they deemed a class of people property.
Yeah.
And that was embryos. Right, reproductive technologies have allowed us to commodify people in a way that we have not done since we had an industry and economy built on the backs of people that were deemed less than human. And so I just think like when you are starting to create technologies that parallel slavery in terms of the laws that we have to use to govern it, you really need to start taking a look at, are we heading in the wrong direction technologically?
You're not going to stop it, though. There's no evidence that these technological movements have ever been stopped, like ever on anything.
It can't be.
It can't be stopped.
And into the question of AI right now,
I'm going to stop it.
Not to deviate too far from the conversation, but just to mention AI. We've got numerous prominent, high-profile individuals saying AI will be our end, and then people saying, "Why don't you stop doing it?" They say, "You can't because if I don't, someone else is already working on it." Too many people are building a machine they know will destroy us, and they won't stop.
No,
people will kill their children. You cannot stop abortion from happening, but you can take legal steps to massively limit it, and that's what I'm going to do for all third-party reproduction.
I got to tell you, I mean, the reason I bring up, Colorado, Oklahoma, and this conflict is that there is I am horrified, infuriated, and angered at the thought when I saw that video out of Virginia. Yep. Where that, I think she was a state senator or a rep or something, was talking to a judge, and he asked her, like, clarify for me the limitations. The baby is crowning, and you can abort it. And she goes, there are no limitations. And the response from Governor Northam, which I think cost him severely, was, well, in these situations, the baby would be delivered. It would be resuscitated.
Make it comfortable.
Make it comfortable. Bring it to another room, and then have a discussion about it. I'm like, there is a
what a chilling phrase, make it comfortable.
But you know what? He is being logically consistent.
Yes, he is.
That is the logically consistent position. It cannot be disposable like 20 hours before and then post. No, dignity, full human rights. No. The idea that infanticide should be able to take place post-birth is consistent with an abortion mindset. That's the consistent position. So
I've presented this argument to many left-leaning individuals. I love how they say they're pro-choice. I'm like, no, you're pro-abortion.
You're pro-abortion.
Because, me personally, I have the traditional pro-choice position, which still seeks to balance, it seeks to balance the rights of the mother and the child and find that it's really, really difficult, if not impossible, but we're trying as hard as we can. They just say, I've asked them this. You have two women. They're identical twins. And they conceived with identical twin brothers. At the exact same time, the baby's 8 months on. One baby is prematurely being born. It is born. The women are sitting next to each other. Can the doctor come in and kill the baby that was just born?
Right. And
they all say, well, no, that's killing a baby. I say, okay, the baby of the identical genetics and gestation in the womb, can the doctor kill it? Yes, it's the woman's choice. And I'm like, why not just deliver it and let it live? They don't care. They just say, it's the woman's choice. She can kill it if she wants. That is a moral line that I feel is absolutely untenable. I reject it outright. I do not feel that we are a sound society. That it's a shocking proposition. It's a psychotic proposition. And
well, so that is why
it makes me scared.
That's why you're a conservative, because conservatism is just living in reality. And the thing about progressives is their feelings are their God. Their self is their God. Their own sexual identity is their God. Because feelings and identity can change, their priorities can change depending on what the situation is. And so they are going to be logically inconsistent because they are not anchored to an ultimate reality.
No, I think it's deeper and worse than that. Again, yes, relying on Truman's analysis of expressive individualism. It's not so much that it's just feelings. They have, firm beliefs, and actually their system is consistent. It's internally consistent. It's not consistent with observed facts, but it's internally consistent. It's what philosophers call coherentism, right? It doesn't actually meet reality in a consistent way, but internally it's all consistent, right?
Okay,
and
I agree with that.
That's why it's actually often hard to argue with leftists. That's why I don't waste my time making arguments. I use examples from facts, because that's where the problem with their point of view actually lies.
Well,
so they believe really that identity is something that is constructed.
Yeah,
this is wrong.
And this constructed identity, it's actually a duty of people to construct their identity. And within that kind of mindset, it's totally incompatible. And I don't even call myself a conservative anymore because I actually don't think we live under the Constitution anymore. I think that probably happened about around FDR's time. The government is not constrained by the Constitution in any way. I would love to restore it. I would love to restore it, and I would love to be the case. So I call myself a right winger now. You know, I just have a right wing perspective on things because I don't know what I would conserve at this point. You know, and I guess I could go into reactionary politics, which is I think is what you're about, trying to reestablish a kind of lost social order, and I respect that. Those reactionary movements have no history of success in the past.
I actually disagree. I think the left is reactionary.
Okay.
If you look at Derek Bell, one of the forefathers of critical race theory, he regrets the end of segregation. He wants it back. So actually, if you look to the history of the world, the classically liberal framework that we have today in terms of individual rights is new and has only been around for a very, very, very short amount of time.
You're right.
And these people want to restore what once was. You look at the eugenicists of the early 1900s, and you look at the critical race theorists, and they're arguing for a return to a segregated, separate society where we can go back to the way things used to be.